The stars look different from space. Captain Jeho Kim knew this after 3 years on the New Horizons space station. Today, the stars seemed even more beautiful as he fixed a broken sensor array outside the station. Earth hung below him, blue and peaceful. "Captain Kim, are you almost done out there?" The voice of his second-in-command, Han Sol, came through his helmet. "Almost. Just need to tighten this last bolt," Jeho replied, turning the wrench one more time. The sensor panel lit up green. There, all fixed. That's when Jeho saw it. At first, he thought it was a trick of light. Then he realized something was moving toward Earth. Something big. "Han Sol, are we expecting any ships today?" Jeho asked, his eyes fixed on the approaching object. "No, sir. All scheduled launches are grounded due to the solar storm warning." Jeho felt his heart beat faster. "I'm seeing something. Track my helmet camera and tell me what you see." A long pause followed. Then Han Sol's voice came back, tight with worry. "Sir, that's not one of ours. And it's not Russian or Chinese either." The object grew larger. It wasn't a satellite or space junk. It was a ship. A massive ship with a design no human had ever created. "Get me back inside. Now." Jeho pushed away from the sensor array and jetted toward the airlock. Inside the command center of New Horizon, 20 pairs of eyes stared at the main screen. The alien ship had stopped moving and now hung in space about 50,000 kilometers from Earth. It was at least 2 kilometers long, with strange angles and glowing sections that pulsed with blue-green light. "Any response to our signals?" Jeho asked the communications officer. "None, sir. We've tried all frequencies." Defense Minister Yuna Park's face appeared on a side screen. Her office in Seoul looked chaotic, with people rushing back and forth behind her. "Captain Kim, the UN Security Council is meeting now. The American and Chinese space forces are on high alert. What's your assessment?" Jeho looked at the alien ship again. "It's definitely not from Earth, and they're not responding to any communication attempts." Suddenly, the ship began to glow brighter. A beam of energy shot from its front end toward Earth. For a terrible moment, Jeho thought they were firing on the planet. Instead, the beam stopped short and formed into a giant screen visible from space. A face appeared on it. At least, Jeho thought it was a face. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and gray-blue skin with ridges where a human would have a nose. "People of the blue planet," the alien said in perfect English, "I am High Commander Krell of the Voxian Empire. Your world has been selected for resource extraction and colonization. You will surrender all planetary authority within 1 Earth day or face the consequences." The screen vanished. The command center was silent for several seconds. "Did that just happen?" Han Sol whispered. Jeho turned to the communications officer. "Get me Minister Park back, and prepare a message to the alien ship." Admiral Hannah Lee had never expected to command Earth's first defense against aliens. Yet here she was, standing in the United Earth Defense Council's underground bunker beneath Geneva, surrounded by the top military leaders from every major nation. "The Voxians are not bluffing," she said, pointing to the latest scans of the alien ship. "They've dispatched smaller craft that are now in orbit, and they've demonstrated their firepower by destroying our moon base." The room grew even more tense. The moon base had been empty, used only for scientific equipment, but the fact that the aliens had vaporized it so easily was terrifying. "What are our options?" asked the American general. Hannah pulled up a new screen. For 20 years, a secret international project has been developing defensive systems against potential extraterrestrial threats. Project Shield Wall was never meant to be activated this soon, but we have no choice. The screen showed a network of satellites and ground-based stations around the world. This system can create an energy shield around Earth. It won't hold forever against their weapons, but it will buy us time. And more importantly, it will surprise them. Hannah looked around the room. "They think we're defenseless. That's our advantage." "How do we know it will work?" asked the Russian commander. We don't, Hannah admitted, but I'd rather go down fighting than surrender our planet without a fight. The Chinese general stood up. China stands with Earth. Activate the shield. One by one, the other leaders agreed. Jai-Ho watched from New Horizon as the Voxian ships moved into attack position. His space station was directly in their path, but evacuation orders hadn't come. Instead, he'd received encrypted instructions from Admiral Lee to maintain position and prepare for unprecedented events. Captain, the alien ships are powering up weapons systems, Hansol reported. Jai-Ho nodded. All personnel to emergency stations. Prepare for impact. The lead Voxian ship fired. A brilliant beam of energy shot toward Earth, aiming for a military base in the Pacific. Jai-Ho held his breath. Then something amazing happened. As the beam approached Earth's atmosphere, a shimmer appeared. The energy weapon hit this shimmer and scattered, like light hitting a mirror. The shield was invisible except where the attack hit it, creating ripples of blue energy that spread across the globe. On the command screen, Jai-Ho could see the Voxian ships pausing their attack. They clearly hadn't expected resistance. His communications panel lit up. Captain Kim, this is Admiral Lee. The shield wall is holding. Now for Phase 2. Before Jai-Ho could ask what Phase 2 was, he saw hundreds of small objects rising from Earth. They had been hidden in oceans, deserts, and mountain ranges. Earth's secret defense fleet. All this time, Hansol whispered, we were preparing. Jai-Ho felt a surge of pride. Humanity had feared this day might come and had planned accordingly. The Voxian ships began to turn, preparing to face this unexpected threat. That's when New Horizons sensors detected a massive energy buildup from Earth. What's happening? Jai-Ho asked. The answer came as a focused pulse shot from a hidden base in Antarctica. It hit the main Voxian ship, not damaging it but covering it in a web of energy that traced all the way back to its systems. We're copying their technology, Jai-Ho realized. We're learning how they work. In the Geneva bunker, Admiral Hannah Lee watched the data flood in. Earth's hidden AI systems were analyzing Voxian technology faster than any human could. Send the message, she ordered. On every Voxian screen, in their own language, appeared the words, congratulations, you just declared war on the wrong species. This is your only warning. Leave our solar system or be destroyed. The Voxian commander's face appeared on the main screen again. He looked shocked and angry. Impossible, Krell said. You are a primitive species. You cannot have this technology. Hannah stepped forward. We're full of surprises, and you've made a terrible mistake. Humans don't surrender to bullies. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. Trust me, you don't want to see what we do to outside threats. The Voxian ships began to retreat, moving back to their larger vessel. They're leaving? Someone asked. No, Hannah said grimly. They're regrouping. This was just their first attempt. They'll be back with a bigger force. She turned to the council. We have 3 months at most before they return. We need to prepare for all-out war. Jai-Ho's face appeared on the screen. Admiral, what are your orders for New Horizon? Begin converting the station for military operations, Captain Kim. From now on, you're our front line. Jai-Ho nodded, determination in his eyes. The Voxians think they found an easy target. Let's show them how wrong they are. Around the world, as news spread of the alien threat, humanity didn't panic. Instead, people came together. Old enemies became allies. Scientists shared secrets. Factory workers volunteered for extra shifts. For the first time in history, all of humanity stood united against a common enemy. The Voxians had no idea what they had started. 89 days after the first Voxian attack, Earth looked abandoned. Cities were dark. Satellites showed no movement. Radio signals had stopped. To any watching eyes, the planet seemed empty and lifeless. Fleet Commander Drax of the Voxian Armada stood on the bridge of his massive warship. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the blue planet on the main screen. Scans show no human activity, reported his second-in-command. No power signatures. No movement. No signals. Drax made a clicking sound with his mouthparts, the Voxian equivalent of a laugh. They fled, just as High Commander Krull predicted. These humans are cowards after all. The Voxian fleet was enormous. 50 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. They had come prepared for a real fight this time. But there seemed to be no one to fight. "Shall we begin resource extraction?" asked the second-in-command. Drax waved a long, six-fingered hand. "Not yet. Send probe ships first. This feels too easy." 500 meters below the streets of Seoul, in a bunker deep enough to survive a nuclear blast, Taiwan Park watched the Voxian ships on a holographic display. The physicist pushed his glasses up his nose and smiled. "They can't see us," he said to the room full of military and government officials. "The planetary cloak is working perfectly." President Sun Hee-choi nodded with satisfaction. She was a small woman with gray in her short hair, but her eyes were sharp and determined. "How long can we maintain the cloak?" "Another 12 hours at most," Ta-1 replied. "The power requirements are enormous. Every fusion reactor on Earth is working at maximum capacity." Admiral Hannah Lee stepped forward. "That gives us our window. The Voxian fleet is spread out as they search for signs of life. They don't expect an attack." The Admiral pointed to a 3D map showing the positions of thousands of small ships hidden on Earth and the Moon. These vessels were just big enough for 3 people each. They looked simple from the outside, almost primitive, but their technology was anything but basic. "Operation Ghost Strike begins in 1 hour," Hannah announced. "Captain Do-Yoon Kang will lead the first wave." Do-Yoon checked his ship systems one last time. The _Silent Thunder_ was tiny compared to the Voxian warships, but it had 2 advantages. It was nearly impossible to detect, and it was incredibly fast. His 2 crew members, pilot Jae-young and weapons officer Mi-rae, were both under 30. Like Do-Yoon, they had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. "All systems ready," Jae-young reported. "Stealth drive at full power." Do-Yoon opened the communication channel. "This is strike leader to all ghost ships. Remember the plan. We hit their weak points and disappear. Don't try to be heroes. Hit and run, just like we practiced." From underground bases, underwater hangars, and hidden mountain facilities across Earth, thousands of small ships powered up. Each was painted with the same message in Voxian language. "You chose the wrong species." At exactly 1400 hours Earth time, they launched. Drax was growing impatient. The probe ships had found nothing. No humans, no resistance, just empty cities and silent machines. "Begin landing operations," he ordered. "Wheel." An alarm cut him off. "Commander," energy signatures appearing all around us. Suddenly, the space around the Voxian fleet came alive with thousands of small ships. They seemed to appear out of nowhere, their stealth technology deactivating all at once. "Impossible," Drax shouted. "Where did they come from?" Before the Voxians could react, the human ships attacked. They didn't target the main hulls or weapon systems. Instead, they focused on communication arrays, sensor equipment, and navigation systems. Do-Yoon's voice rang out across all human ships. "Target external sensors and comm systems only. Make them blind and mute." The _Silent Thunder_ raced toward the largest Voxian ship. Its weapons fired with surgical precision, cutting through the alien vessel's external communication equipment. Mi-rae watched her targeting screen. Direct hit. Their main communication array is down. Jae-young spun the small ship in a tight turn, narrowly avoiding return fire. "These Voxians are slow. They build big ships but can't make them nimble." Do-Yoon smiled grimly. "That's because they've never needed to. Until now." Across the fleet, Voxian commanders were panicking. Their ship's sensors were being destroyed one by one. Their communications were failing. They couldn't coordinate their defense. Where are they going after they attack? Drax demanded, watching the battle unfold. They fire and then disappear. The answer came from his science officer. They're using some kind of short-range jump technology. They attack, jump a few kilometers away, and then attack again from a new direction. Drax slammed his fist on the command console. That's impossible. Jump technology can't work that way. But it was happening right before his eyes. The human ships would appear, fire with precise accuracy, and vanish again, only to reappear somewhere else seconds later. In Geneva, Admiral Hannah Lee and President Sun Hai watched the battle on the war room's main screen. Thousands of green dots represented human ships. Red dots were Voxian vessels. The green dots were swarming around the red ones like angry bees. Phase 1 is successful, Hannah reported. Their communications and sensors are severely damaged. They can't coordinate. Sun Hai nodded. Begin Phase 2. Hannah pressed a button on her command console. All Ghost Strike units, this is Admiral Lee. Begin Phase 2. I repeat, begin Phase 2. Do Yoon received the order and turned to his crew. Phase 2. Target their engine control systems and jump stabilizers. The _Silent Thunder turned toward a new target, a Voxian ship that was trying to retreat. The human vessel's sensors identified a key weakness in the alien ship's design. Their jump drives needed external stabilizers to work correctly. Targeting jump stabilizers, Mayray announced. Firing now. The weapons hit with perfect accuracy. The Voxian ship's jump drives sputtered and failed. All across the battlefield, human ships were doing the same thing, disabling the Voxian fleet's ability to retreat. Drax watched in horror as his ships lost their ability to jump away. One by one, they were being trapped in Earth's solar system. How is this possible? He demanded. How are they doing this? His tactical officer, face pale with fear, looked up from his station. Commander, we've analyzed their attack pattern. They knew exactly where to hit us. They knew our weaknesses. That's impossible, Drax insisted. They've never encountered our technology before. The first contact, the officer said, when Commander Krell fired on their planet. They must have used that attack to study our weapons and ships. They've had 3 months to analyze our technology. Drax suddenly understood the terrible truth. The humans hadn't fled. They had been preparing. And somehow, they had taken Voxian technology, the most advanced in the known galaxy, and found ways to counter it in just 3 months. Signal the retreat, Drax ordered. All ships, full power to jump drives. We need to leave this system now. But it was too late. Half of the Voxian fleet found their jump drives disabled. They were trapped in Earth's solar system. Tu Yun watched as the remaining Voxian ships managed to jump away. 25 enemy vessels had escaped, but 25 remained, unable to flee. This is strike leader to all ships, he said into his communicator. Disengage and return to base. We've done what we came to do. As the _Silent Thunder turned back toward Earth, the planetary cloak began to fade. The blue-green planet reappeared, teeming with life and activity. It had never been abandoned. It had only been hiding, waiting for the right moment to strike. In the Geneva war room, cheers erupted as the battle results came in. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. More than half the Voxian fleet was trapped and powerless. President Sun Hai turned to Admiral Hannah. They'll be back, with an even bigger force next time. Hannah nodded. Yes, they will. But now, they know what they're up against. And next time, we'll be even more ready. On the main screen, Captain Du Yun's face appeared. He looked tired but triumphant. Mission accomplished, Admiral. The Voxians just learned an important lesson. What's that, Captain? Hannah asked. Du Yun smiled. Never judge a species by its technology level. Judge it by its will to survive. The first real battle between humans and Voxians was over. Humanity had won decisively. But everyone knew this was just the beginning of a much larger war. The Voxians would return, and next time, they would bring everything they had. Earth had 3 months, at most, to prepare for the real fight. The news spread quickly across the 17 worlds of the Voxian Empire, half their fleet defeated by a species that had barely left its own planet. It was unthinkable. It was humiliating. High Sovereign Verex, supreme ruler of the Voxians, called his war council together. Unlike other Voxians, Verex had 6 eyes instead of 4, a sign of his royal bloodline. His skin was darker blue, almost purple with age. "This cannot stand," Verex said, his voice echoing in the great hall of the command ship. "A primitive species has damaged our fleet and our honor. I will lead the next attack myself." The War Council murmured in surprise. The High Sovereign had not personally led a military campaign in over 50 years. "Prepare the planet cracker weapons," Verex ordered. "If these humans will not surrender, we will destroy their world entirely." Jin Wuyun had not slept in 3 days. The xenobiologist had been studying the captured Voxian soldiers non-stop in his laboratory beneath Seoul National University. The aliens were kept in special cells that mimicked the atmosphere of their home world. Jin Wu rubbed his tired eyes and looked again at his test results. Then he called Admiral Hannah Lee. "I found something," Jin Wu said when the Admiral's face appeared on his screen. "The Voxians have extremely sensitive hearing. They can detect sounds we can't even hear." Hannah leaned forward. "Can we use that against them?" Jin Wu nodded. "I think so. I need to work with someone who understands sound better than I do." That same day, composer Yoon Ji-beok joined Jin Wu's team. She had created music for films and video games before the war. Now she would help create a weapon. "It's like writing a song," she explained to Jin Wu as they worked. "But a song that will hurt only Voxian ears." 78 days after the first battle, Earth's sensors detected a massive energy signature at the edge of the solar system. The Voxians had returned. This time, their fleet was 3 times larger than before. In orbit around Earth, the human flagship _Defiance prepared for battle. Captain Minho Jang stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. "They'd brought planet crackers," reported his tactical officer, pointing to energy readings from 3 massive ships at the center of the Voxian fleet. Minho's face remained calm, but inside he felt cold fear. Planet crackers could break Earth apart like an egg. If even one got past their defenses, billions would die. "All ships to battle positions," Minho ordered. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." In the war room beneath Geneva, Admiral Hannah Lee addressed the combined military forces of Earth. Her face appeared on screens in command centers around the world and on ships throughout the solar system. "The Voxians have returned with their full might," she said. "They expect us to fight the same way we did before. We will not. General Jun Ho Kwon will explain our new strategy." General Kwon stepped forward. He was a tall man with a scar across his left cheek from an earlier battle. "The Voxians think in straight lines," he explained. "Attack, defend, retreat. They don't understand how humans think. We will use this against them." He showed a battle plan that made no sense at first glance. Ships would retreat from strong points and defend seemingly worthless positions. Forces would be divided in ways that looked like mistakes. "They will see weakness where there is strength," Junho continued, "and strength where there is weakness. They will chase what they cannot catch and ignore what they should fear." President Sun Hae gave the final order: begin Operation Chaos. The battle started exactly as General Kwon had predicted. The Voxian fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their ships arranged in attack patterns they had used successfully for centuries. Captain Minho ordered the _Defiance_ and its support ships to retreat immediately, creating what looked like a gap in Earth's defenses. The Voxians charged into the gap and found nothing. The ships that should have been there had jumped away using the short-range technology that had surprised the Voxians in the previous battle. They're confused, Minho said, watching the enemy ships slow down. Now, Admiral Hannah gave the signal. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, Earth's ships attacked the Voxian fleet from a dozen different directions at once. But they weren't targeting the Voxian warships. Instead, they focused fire on the space between the ships. "What are they doing?" demanded High Sovereign Verex, watching the battle from his command ship. "They're wasting their weapons firing at empty space." But it wasn't empty space. Jin Wu and Eunji's sound weapon activated. Special satellites broadcast ultrasonic frequencies directly at the Voxian ships. To human ears, nothing happened. But inside the Voxian vessels, crews fell to the floor in pain, their sensitive hearing overwhelmed. "Status report," Verex shouted, but his bridge crew couldn't respond. They were clutching their head parts, their four eyes shut tight against the pain. The battle lasted 3 days. The Voxians would recover from the sound attack, adjust their ships to block the frequencies, and attack again. The humans would find new frequencies and attack from new angles. Neither side could gain a clear advantage. On the 3rd day, Special Forces Commander Su Min Ryu led a desperate mission. Her team of 20 soldiers used a captured Voxian shuttle to approach the High Sovereign's command ship. "Remember," she told her team as they prepared to board, "we're not here to kill. We're here to capture." Using the confusion caused by another sound attack, Su Min's team cut through the hull of the command ship and fought their way to the bridge. The Voxian guards were tough, but they weren't prepared for humans fighting at close range. Humans had been fighting each other hand-to-hand for thousands of years. The Voxians, with their superior technology, had forgotten such skills long ago. Su Min burst onto the bridge and found High Sovereign Verex trying to escape. With one quick move, she disabled him with a stun weapon Jin Wu had designed specifically for Voxian biology. "High Sovereign captured," she reported through her comlink. "Repeat, High Sovereign captured." When Verex woke up, he found himself in a strange room. The walls were clear, allowing him to see out but keeping him contained. Admiral Hannah Lee stood outside, watching him. "What do you want?" Verex demanded. "Why am I still alive?" "Because humans don't destroy what they don't need to," Hannah replied. "We have terms for you." "The Voxian Empire does not negotiate with lesser species," Verex said proudly. Hannah smiled. "Look outside." Through another clear wall, Verex could see space. The remains of his fleet were scattered and broken. His mighty armada had been defeated. "How?" he asked, his voice suddenly quiet. "How did you do this?" "We think differently than you," Hannah explained. "You've conquered many worlds, but they were all like you. Predictable. Humans are anything but predictable." She pressed a button, and a screen appeared showing planet Earth. "We don't want your empire," Hannah continued. "We just want to be left alone. But if you force us to fight for our existence, we will bring your entire civilization down rather than surrender." Verex stared at the human woman. In his 1,000 years of life, he had never met a species like this one. "What are your terms?" he asked finally. "Peace. Recognition of Earth and all human colonies as sovereign and off-limits to the Voxian Empire. And the return of all worlds you've conquered in the last 100 years to their native peoples." Verex laughed bitterly. "My war council will never agree to this." "Then we will continue the war," Hannah said simply. "And we will win. We've already copied your technology. We've learned how your ships work. Given enough time, we will reach your homeworld." The threat hung in the air between them. Verex knew it wasn't empty. Somehow, these humans had done in months what other species couldn't do in centuries. They had not only fought the Voxian Empire to a standstill, they had defeated it. "I will consider your terms," Verex said at last. For the first time in their 1,000-year history of conquest, the Voxian Empire was considering peace instead of victory. The tide had turned. 1 year after the final battle with the Voxians, Earth had changed. New buildings rose where old ones had stood. Ships with strange designs flew through the skies. Humans worked side by side with machines built using Voxian technology. But the biggest change was in orbit. A massive space station called Unity hung above the planet. It was 10 times larger than any previous human construction, and today it would welcome visitors from 20 different alien worlds. Jae-ho Kim, now Admiral of Earth's growing fleet, straightened his new uniform as he prepared to meet the alien representatives. He had come a long way from being a space station captain fixing sensors. "Nervous?" asked President Sun Hai, who stood beside him in the grand reception hall. "A little," Jae-ho admitted. "I never thought I'd be Earth's ambassador to other worlds." Sun Hai smiled. "Who better? You were the first to see the Voxians. Now you'll be the first to welcome friendly aliens." The doors opened, and beings of all shapes and sizes entered the hall. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some floated, some rolled. All had come to meet the species that had defeated the Voxian Empire. The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. Made up of the oldest and most advanced civilizations, it oversaw trade and prevented wars between starfaring species. But they had never interfered with the Voxians, whose military might was feared throughout the galaxy. Now, Council Leader Zorn, a tall being with silver skin and no visible eyes, addressed the gathered representatives. "For too long, we ignored the Voxian conquests," Zorn said, his voice translated by devices worn by all present. "We believed we could not stop them. Then a young species with barely a century of advanced technology did what we could not." Zorn turned to Jae-ho. "Tell us, Admiral Kim, how did humans defeat the greatest military power in the known galaxy?" All eyes, some more than 2, turned to Jae-ho. He stepped forward, feeling the weight of Earth's future on his shoulders. "It wasn't our technology," Jae-ho began. "When the Voxians first came, they were far more advanced than us. It was our nature that saved us." He activated a holographic display showing scenes from human history. People building cities from nothing. Explorers crossing oceans in tiny boats. Astronauts walking on the moon with primitive equipment. "Throughout our history, humans have faced impossible odds," Jae-ho continued. "We've been outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched, and we've survived anyway. We've learned to be resourceful and find unexpected solutions because we've had to." The aliens watched in silence as the display showed how quickly humans had copied and improved Voxian technology. "But most importantly," Jae-ho said, "we've learned from our own wars. For thousands of years we fought each other. We know the cost of conflict and the value of peace. We defeated the Voxians not because we wanted to destroy them, but because we wanted to survive." On the far side of the reception hall, a group of Voxians watched and listened. Their leader, a young military commander named Trell, was High Sovereign Varex's son. After his father signed the peace treaty with Earth, Trell had been sent to learn about humans. "I still don't understand," Trell said to his aide. "How did they advance so quickly? How did they copy our sound shielding technology in just days when it took our scientists generations to develop it?" From behind him came a human voice. "We had to." Trell turned to see Jin Woo-yoon, the xenobiologist whose discoveries had helped defeat the Voxian fleet. "When survival is at stake, humans become very creative," Jin Woo explained. "We don't accept limitations. We find ways around them." Trell's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "My father says we should learn from humans. I didn't understand why until now." Later that evening, a smaller meeting took place in a private room. Jae-ho sat with representatives from 7 worlds that had been conquered by the Voxians before the war. Thanks to the peace treaty, these worlds were now free again. "We owe you a debt we can never repay," said the representative from Altair, a small green being with long arms. "The Voxians ruled my world for 300 years. We had forgotten what freedom felt like." Jae-ho shook his head. "We didn't set out to free your worlds. We just wanted to protect our own." "That's why you succeeded where others failed," said another alien, this one tall and thin with glowing spots along its sides. You fought not for conquest, but for survival. The Voxians had no answer for such determination. The doors opened and President Sunhai entered with Admiral Hannah Lee. Both women looked tired but proud. "The Galactic Council has voted," Sunhai announced. "Earth is officially recognized as a full member with all rights and protections." The room erupted in cheers and the alien equivalent of applause, clicks, hums, and flashing lights. "There's more," Hannah added when the noise died down. "The Council has asked Earth to help form a new defense alliance. They believe our unique perspective on warfare would be valuable." Jai-Ho felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. Humans were being recognized for their ability to fight, an ability born from thousands of years of conflict with each other. "We should be known for more than our skill in battle," he said quietly. Sunhai put a hand on his shoulder. "We will be, Jai-Ho. This is just the beginning." 5 years later, Taiwan Park stood in his laboratory beneath Seoul, looking at his greatest invention yet. The device was small enough to hold in one hand but contained technology from a dozen different worlds. "Will it work?" asked Eunji, who had continued working with him after the war. "In theory, yes," Taiwan replied. "It should create stable wormholes between any 2 points in the galaxy. Instant travel without spaceships." He activated the device. A small circle of light appeared, then expanded to the size of a doorway. Through it, they could see the surface of Mars, where the first human colony had been established. "It works," Eunji exclaimed. Taiwan smiled. Not bad for a species that was fighting with swords a few thousand years ago. In deep space, beyond the edge of human-explored territory, a massive ship of unknown design observed the Sol system from a safe distance. Inside, beings neither human nor Voxian discussed what they had learned. "These humans defeated the Voxians in less than a year," said one. "Now they've developed wormhole technology in just 5 years. They're advancing too quickly. Should we eliminate them before they become a threat?" asked another. The leader, larger than the others, studied the data one more time. Then it made its decision. "No, we will make contact peacefully. The last species that tried to conquer them learned a painful lesson. Let us not repeat that mistake." On the main screen, a message appeared in all the major languages of Earth. "Greetings from the Andromeda Alliance. We come in peace and friendship." On Earth, life continued. Children who had hidden in bunkers during the Voxian attacks now played in parks under open skies. Scientists worked with alien colleagues to solve problems that had once seemed impossible. Artists created new forms of expression inspired by cultures from distant stars. And throughout the galaxy, when aggressive species considered conquest, they would receive the same warning. "Before you proceed, contact the Voxians. Ask them what happens when you declare war on humans." None proceeded. As Taiwan later wrote in the book that would be translated into 57 alien languages, the aliens thought they were facing a primitive species taking its first steps into space. What they actually faced was a species that had spent its entire existence fighting. Against nature, against each other, against extinction itself. We weren't afraid of them. We had faced worse and survived. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.